You were not raised to be powerful. You were raised to be useful. Not because your father failed you. Not because society hated you. But because weakness is inherited quietly. You were taught to be polite. To be agreeable. To be helpful. To be emotionally available. To avoid conflict. To earn approval. You were trained to fit in, not to stand above. Most men were raised to be safe for others, not dangerous to the world. To be reliable labor, not independent force. To be liked, not respected. This wasn't malice. It was conditioning. Your father inherited it too. So did his father. No villain. Just a lineage of men trained for survival in a system that no longer rewards compliance. And now, here you are. Confused why effort doesn't equal power. Why kindness isn't returned. Why discipline without strategy leads to exhaustion. This isn't your fault. But it is now your responsibility. Childhood teaches morality as if the world is fair. Reality operates on leverage, not virtue. You were told, be good, and good things will come. Be honest, and people will respect you. Be available, and you'll be valued. That works in classrooms. It fails in hierarchies. Unchecked kindness is not morality. It is exposure. Unchecked availability is not love. It is weakness. Unchecked honesty is not integrity. It is self-sabotage. Power is not cruelty. Power is clarity. Machiavelli wasn't teaching evil. He was exposing mechanics. And mechanics don't care about your intentions. The world does not reward the pure. It rewards the precise. This is what you were never taught. Not because it was hidden, but because it is uncomfortable. This knowledge separates men who are managed from men who manage themselves, men who are consumed from men who consume opportunity. If you absorb what follows, you will not feel inspired. You will feel stripped. That is the point. This is not self-improvement. This is cycle breaking. Before we continue, filter yourself. If you are here to feel validated, leave. If you are here to transform, mark yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose power over comfort. Not for me. For you. This is the line. Principle 1, the illusion of being nice, extended. You were taught that being nice makes you good. And that being good makes you valuable. That belief is the first leash ever placed on you. Niceness was framed as virtue. But niceness is not virtue. Niceness is behavior designed to avoid friction. A nice man smooths edges. He lowers his voice. He anticipates others' needs. He apologizes preemptively. He softens his position so no one feels uncomfortable. He believes this makes him safe. What he doesn't realize is that safety is not respect. Safety is utility. The nice man is not chosen. He is used. Used for emotional labor. Used for favors. Used for consistency. Used as a buffer between stronger personalities. And when the moment requires leadership, decisiveness, or authority, he is bypassed. Not because he lacks intelligence. Not because he lacks effort. But because niceness communicates one thing at a subconscious level. I will not challenge you. Human beings do not elevate what will not challenge them. This is not cruelty. This is hierarchy. Children are taught to be nice because children cannot wield power. Niceness keeps classrooms quiet and systems manageable. But adulthood is not a classroom. It is a hierarchy of leverage. And in hierarchies, niceness without boundaries signals weakness. The world does not punish you for being rude. It punishes you for being predictably compliant. The nice man answers messages instantly. The nice man agrees before thinking. The nice man overdelivers without being asked. The nice man says it's fine when it isn't. The nice man tolerates disrespect to preserve harmony. He calls it maturity. The world calls it availability. Powerful men are not cruel. They are selective. They are polite, but not accommodating. They are calm, but not agreeable. They are respectful, but not submissive. There is a difference between kindness and niceness. Kindness is intentional while niceness is reflexive. Kindness chooses while niceness reacts. Psychologically, this matters because humans assign value based on cost. What costs nothing is treated as nothing. When your time costs nothing, it is wasted. When your attention costs nothing, it is drained. When your agreement costs nothing, it is expected. This is why the nicest man in the room is rarely the most respected. Respect forms where boundaries exist. Boundaries create friction. Friction creates presence. Presence creates authority. The nice man avoids friction at all costs. And in doing so, he erases himself. Concrete example is texting. The nice man responds immediately. Even when busy. Even when tired. Even when the message doesn't require urgency. He believes speed equals interest. But speed actually communicates availability. The strategic man responds when he decides. Not to play games, but to preserve hierarchy. Another example is disagreements. The nice man softens his position. He adds disclaimers. I might be wrong, but I don't want to offend, but he amputates his own authority before anyone challenges him. The powerful man states his position cleanly, without emotional padding, without apology. He allows others to disagree. Why? Because he does not need consensus to exist. Another example is work and favors. The nice man says yes automatically. He wants to be seen as dependable. What he becomes is overloaded. The powerful man pauses. He evaluates cost. He chooses selectively. Dependability without scarcity is exploitation. Humans are wired to test limits. Not maliciously. Instinctively. When someone shows they have no limits, they are unconsciously deprioritized. This is why people don't realize they're disrespecting you. They are responding to signals you emit. The signal of niceness says, I will absorb discomfort so you don't have to. Powerful men reverse that dynamic. Stop being reflexively nice. Replace it with measured respect. Pause before agreeing. Delay responses without explanation. Say no without justification. Let people feel the weight of your absence. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be positioned. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am respectful, not pleasing. Principle 2, the illusion of honesty. You were taught that honesty is always virtuous. That transparency is maturity. That openness builds trust. This belief makes you predictable. And predictability is exploitable. Honesty is not wrong. But unfiltered honesty is not integrity. It is exposure. Information is power. And power does not leak unnecessarily. Children are encouraged to tell the truth because children have no leverage to protect. Adults who survive hierarchies learn a different rule. Reveal only what strengthens your position. The emotionally naive man confesses everything. His doubts, his plans, his fears, his intentions. He believes vulnerability creates connection. What it actually creates is data. Data that others use, consciously or not, to predict, pressure, or position against him. You don't need enemies for this to matter. Friends, partners, colleagues all operate within power dynamics. The moment someone knows what you fear losing, they gain leverage. The moment someone knows your insecurities, they gain influence. The moment someone knows your next move, they can interfere or benefit. This is not paranoia. It is realism. Machiavelli warned that men lose power not because others are evil, but because they are careless. The honest man narrates his life. The strategic man lets outcomes speak. A concrete example is the workplace. The naive man openly shares frustrations with colleagues. He vents. He explains why he's unhappy. He believes this builds camaraderie. What it actually does is mark him as unstable, dissatisfied, or risky. The strategic man listens more than he speaks. He documents privately. He moves when the time is right. Another example is relationships. The emotionally expressive man reveals every thought, every doubt, every fear of loss. He believes this creates intimacy. What it often creates is imbalance. Attraction requires polarity. Polarity requires mystery. Another example is plans. The naive man announces his goals early. He tells people what he's about to do. Psychologically, this triggers two problems. Premature validation reduces drive. External awareness invites interference. The strategic man moves quietly. He announces results. Humans subconsciously compete. Even supportive people adjust behavior when they know too much. This is not betrayal. It is instinct. When you overshare, you surrender optionality. Silence preserves leverage. This does not mean lying. It means selective disclosure. A powerful man does not explain his decisions unless explanation serves him. He does not narrate his emotional state. He does not justify his boundaries. He does not reveal strategy mid-execution. He understands that trust is built over time, not through confession. Stop oversharing. Stop narrating. Stop filling silence. Learn to answer questions with partial truth. Learn to say, "I'll think about it." Learn to let curiosity work for you. Silence is not awkward. Silence is pressure. Those who cannot tolerate silence rush to reveal. Those who can tolerate silence control the interaction. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I reveal only what serves my position. Principle 3. The illusion of emotional expression. You were taught that expressing emotion is healthy. That suppression is dangerous. That restraint is repression. That power requires openness. This belief creates men who leak. They leak frustration. They leak excitement. They leak insecurity. They leak anger. They leak needs. And leaked emotion is not honesty. It is a loss of control. Power does not come from feeling less. Power comes from showing less. The emotionally expressive man believes he is authentic. What he is readable. Readable men are manageable men. Human beings do not respond to what you feel. They respond to what you display. Emotion is not weakness. Uncontrolled emotion is. Children are encouraged to express themselves because children cannot regulate outcomes. Adults are expected to regulate impact. The man who reacts emotionally in real time. has surrendered authorship of the moment. He is no longer acting. He is responding. And the man who responds does not lead. He follows stimulus. A concrete example is conflict. The expressive man reacts immediately. He raises his voice. He explains his feelings. He defends his position emotionally. He believes intensity equals conviction. What it actually signals is instability. The composed man pauses. He absorbs. He responds only when clarity returns. His calm unsettles others, not because it is cruel, but because it cannot be hooked. Another example is texting. The emotional man sends messages charged with tone, frustration, need, excitement, reassurance seeking. The strategic man sends neutral communication, sparse, controlled, unreactive. Why? Because tone gives away state. The state gives away leverage. Another example is success and failure. The expressive man celebrates loudly, complains openly, broadcasts wins and losses. The strategic man registers both internally. He adjusts quietly. Humans subconsciously track emotional stability as a proxy for leadership. Calm equals control. Control equals safety. Safety equals authority. This is why the calmest person in the room is often deferred to, even without formal power. Not because he is dominant, but because he is unmoved. This is also why emotional outbursts, even justified ones, reduce credibility. People don't judge fairness. They judge composure. This is not suppression. This is discipline. You are allowed to feel everything. You are not allowed to broadcast everything. Powerful men feel deeply. They process privately. They decide coldly. Stop reacting in real time. Institute delay. No emotional texts. No emotional decisions. No emotional explanations. When emotion rises, do nothing. Let it burn out without expression. What remains is signal, not noise. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my emotional output. Principle 4, the illusion of being understood. You were taught that being understood is essential. That if people really knew you, they would respect you. That clarity builds harmony. That misunderstanding is dangerous. This belief turns men into explainers. Explainers justify. They soften. They clarify. They defend. They narrate their intentions so others won't judge them incorrectly. What they don't realize is this. The need to be understood is a plea for validation. Power does not require explanation. Power sets terms. The man who needs to be understood has already surrendered authority. Because authority assumes legitimacy without permission. Children explain themselves to adults. Subordinates explain themselves to superiors. Leaders do not explain unless it benefits them. This is not arrogance. This is structure. A concrete example is boundaries. The explaining man says, I can't do this because I'm overwhelmed and I've had a long week and I just don't have the capacity. He hopes the explanation will make refusal acceptable. What he actually communicates is negotiability. The authoritative man says, I won't be available for that. And stops. No justification. No defense. Another example is decisions. The explaining man prefaces choices with reasoning. He walks others through his logic. He believes transparency builds trust. What it builds is debate. The decisive man states outcomes, not process. Another example is disagreement. The explaining man argues to be understood. The authoritative man disengages. He does not need to win consensus. He moves on. When you explain, you invite evaluation. When you invite evaluation, you accept subordination. People do not respect what they are allowed to audit. They respect what stands firm without negotiation. This is why leaders who over-explain lose authority, even when correct. Silence after a decision is pressure. People project certainty onto quiet resolve. This is not manipulation. This is behavioral economics. The human brain fills gaps with assumed confidence. The man who cannot tolerate misunderstanding will always be controlled by perception. The powerful man lets others misunderstand him. Because misunderstanding is temporary. Authority is cumulative. Stop explaining your decisions. Stop defending your boundaries. Stop correcting perceptions unnecessarily. Let actions speak. If someone disagrees, let them. Your life is not a committee. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I don't seek understanding. I set terms. Principle 5, the illusion of constant availability. You were taught that presence proves value. That showing up earns trust. That accessibility equals importance. That being there makes you indispensable. This belief turns men into infrastructure. Always on. Always reachable. Always responsive. An infrastructure is not respected. It is used. Availability feels virtuous because it looks like commitment. But in power dynamics, availability is exposure. The man who is always reachable is never prioritized. He becomes the background utility others lean on without thought. The available man answers immediately. Cancels plans for others. Keeps his calendar open just in case. Feels guilty when unavailable. He believes this makes him reliable. What it actually makes him is interruptible. Powerful men are not scarce by accident. They design scarcity. Not to play games. But because scarcity creates gravity. A concrete example is texting and calls. The available man responds instantly, even when busy. Even when the message is trivial. Even when it disrupts his focus. He believes responsiveness shows interest. But responsiveness actually communicates lack of priority elsewhere. The strategic man responds when it suits him. Not out of ego. Out of hierarchy. Another example is work. The available man fills gaps. Takes on extra tasks and says yes reflexively. He believes effort equals leverage. What happens instead is role inflation without authority. The strategic man limits access to his time. He chooses where to apply effort. He allows problems to exist without immediately solving them. Another example is relationships. The available man rearranges his life around others. He believes sacrifice builds closeness. What it often builds is imbalance. Humans value what appears limited. Scarcity triggers attention, respect, and pursuit. When someone is always available, the brain categorizes them as non-threatening, non-urgent, and non-priority. This is subconscious. Not malicious. People don't consciously disrespect you. They respond to signals. An availability signals surplus. Power requires constraint. This is why silence unsettles. Why delayed responses increase perceived value. Why absence sharpens presence. Stop being instantly reachable. Delay responses without apology. Protect blocks of time fiercely. Disappear occasionally without explanation. Do not announce scarcity. Let it be felt. Your time is not communal property. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My time is scarce. Principle 6, the illusion of approval. You were taught to be liked. That likability opens doors. That acceptance equals safety. That rejection is failure. This belief installs a governor on your ambition. The approval-seeking man calibrates himself constantly. He scans reactions. He adjusts tone. He edits opinions. He anticipates offense. He lives externally referenced. An external reference is dependency. The need for approval is the most efficient control mechanism ever created. You don't need to threaten a man who wants to be liked. You just need to withhold approval. He will self-correct. Approval seekers do not make decisions. They negotiate with them. Powerful men are not unlikable. They are indifferent to being liked. This distinction matters. A concrete example is opinions. The approval-seeking man softens his views, adds disclaimers and checks the room before speaking. He believes consensus equals harmony. What it creates is dilution. The self-governed man states his position cleanly. He allows disagreement. He does not seek permission to exist. Another example is boundaries. The approval-seeking man over-explains his no. He justifies. He apologizes. He hopes the explanation will preserve affection. What it preserves is dependency. The autonomous man says no once, without emotional padding. Another example is career and ambition. The approval-seeking man avoids moves that might upset others. He delays decisions to maintain image. The autonomous man accepts temporary disapproval for long-term leverage. Humans subconsciously test for self-anchoring. Men who anchor themselves internally are perceived as leaders. Men who anchor themselves externally are perceived as followers, even when competent. Approval-seeking broadcasts one message: I need you to validate my existence. This is why approval-seeking men feel invisible despite effort. They are self-erasing. Assume disapproval by default. Make decisions anyway. Speak without scanning reactions. Hold boundaries without apology. Let people leave. Those who require you to be smaller were never allies. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I do not negotiate for approval. Principle 1, the illusion of loyalty without leverage. You were taught that loyalty is noble. That staying, enduring, and sacrificing prove character. That walking away is a weakness. That endurance equals virtue. This belief creates trapped men. Men who stay too long. Men who tolerate erosion. Men who confuse patience with strength. Loyalty, when unconditional, is not morality. It is submission. Power does not come from staying. Power comes from the ability to leave. The man who cannot walk away has already surrendered control. This is not about betrayal. This is about leverage. Children are loyal because they have no alternatives. Adults who remain loyal without leverage revert to dependency. A concrete example is work. The loyal man stays despite stagnation, despite disrespect, despite being undervalued. He tells himself he's principled. What he's actually doing is signaling that he has no exit. And once that signal is sent, negotiations are over. Another example is relationships. The loyal man tolerates imbalance. Disrespect disguised as honesty. Emotional volatility justified as passion. He believes loyalty will be rewarded. What it usually produces is erosion. Another example is friendships and alliances. The loyal man keeps showing up even when the exchange is one-sided. He absorbs disrespect to preserve history. History does not generate leverage. Options do. Humans subconsciously respect those who have alternatives. This is not cynicism. It is evolutionary wiring. Creatures that can leave are not easily dominated. The moment people sense you cannot walk away, their behavior toward you shifts. Not always consciously, but inevitably. Boundaries loosen. Expectations rise. Respect thins. This is why threats of leaving that are never acted on destroy credibility. Exit power must be real. And silence is stronger than warnings. The powerful man never announces his limits. He enforces them once. And then he leaves. Not emotionally. Not dramatically. Cleanly. Stop overcommitting. Stop binding your identity to roles, people, or places. Always maintain an exit. Not to use it recklessly, but to ensure you are never owned. Loyalty is a choice made daily, not a prison sentence. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am loyal by choice, not dependency. Principle 2, the illusion of identity permanence. You were taught that identity is fixed. That's just who I am. I've always been this way. I can't change that. This belief is the final cage. Identity permanence is comforting. It gives you an excuse to stop evolving. But comfort is lethal. Identity is not who you are. Identity is what you repeat. And repetition can be changed. The man who clings to identity clings to yesterday. The world does not respect consistency. It respects adaptation. A concrete example is the nice guy, the hard worker, the loyal friend, the honest man. These identities feel virtuous. But when the environment changes, virtue without power becomes vulnerability. Another example is failure. The fixed identity man says, "That's just not me. I'm not built for that." The adaptive man asks, "What version of me survives this?" Identity is a prediction engine. Your brain uses it to automate behavior. If the identity is outdated, the behavior fails silently, again and again. This is why men feel stuck despite effort. They are executing obsolete software. Identity death is terrifying, because it removes excuses. If you are not that guy anymore, you must decide who you become next. Most men avoid this moment forever. They decorate the cage instead. Powerful men treat identity as modular. They discard what no longer serves. They install what works. They do not ask, "Is this who I am?" They ask, "Does this version win?" This is not dishonesty. This is survival. Nature rewards adaptation, not authenticity. Kill identities that no longer produce leverage. Stop defending who you've always been. Stop romanticizing old versions. Become unrecognizable if necessary. The past does not vote. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am not my past identity. Principle 3, the illusion of external validation. You were taught that success should be visible. That progress should be shared. That recognition confirms worth. That being seen equals being real. This belief keeps men noisy. Broadcasting. Posting. Announcing. Explaining. The validation-seeking man documents his becoming, because he is unsure of his arrival. He wants witnesses. Powerful men do not need witnesses. They need outcomes. External validation feels rewarding because it substitutes certainty. If others see you, you feel real. If others approve, you feel correct. But validation is a poor replacement for authority. The man who needs to be seen can be steered by attention. And attention is easily manipulated. Concrete example is social proof. The validation-seeking man shares plans, goals, routines, philosophies. He believes transparency builds credibility. What it actually does is drain tension. Tension is fuel. When you announce too early, you dilute pressure. The nervous system relaxes. Urgency fades. Another example is success. The validation-seeking man celebrates publicly. Signals victory. Seeks applause. What he invites is scrutiny, comparison, and interference. The powerful man registers wins privately. He lets the results compound quietly. Another example is opinions and beliefs. The validation-seeking man wants agreement. He debates. He explains. The autonomous man does not argue for legitimacy. He acts. The human brain confuses attention with progress. This is why public accountability often fails. The dopamine of recognition replaces the discipline of execution. Silence preserves intensity. Silence keeps the nervous system sharp. Silence prevents premature reward. This is why dangerous men move quietly. Not because they are hiding, but because they are loading. Noise is for the insecure. Silence is for the certain. Stop announcing. Stop documenting. Stop seeking recognition mid-process. Let people discover outcomes late. If something matters, protect it with silence. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I move in silence. Principle 4, the illusion of safety. You were taught to seek safety, stability, predictability, and comfort. You were taught that discomfort is a warning sign. This belief creates domesticated men. Men optimized for comfort. In a world that rewards pressure tolerance. Safety feels intelligent. But safety is a sedative. It dulls urgency. It softens edges. It slows adaptation. Power is not built in safe environments. Power is forged under strain. A concrete example is decisions. The safety-seeking man chooses the familiar option. The path with minimal resistance. The move with the least backlash. He calls it being realistic. The adaptive man chooses the option that sharpens him, even if it costs comfort. Another example is conflict. The safety-seeking man avoids confrontation. He smooths over issues. He delays hard conversations. What he avoids externally, he absorbs internally. The disciplined man chooses friction early. He confronts cleanly. He resolves decisively. Another example is routine. The safety-seeking man protects comfort rituals. Sleep. Entertainment. Distraction. The dangerous man protects pressure. Training. Focus. Isolation. Hard schedules. The nervous system adapts to its environment. If you live in comfort, your tolerance for stress collapses. Men who avoid discomfort become fragile. Fragility invites management. This is why systems reward men who can operate under strain. Discomfort is not punishment. It is calibration. Discomfort reveals what survives. This is why Machiavellian realism is not cruelty. It is acceptance of reality. Life does not ask permission before applying pressure. Men who train discomfort are not shocked by reality. Choose the harder option daily. Train boredom. Train silence. Train isolation. Train delayed gratification. Do not seek pain for drama. Seek pressure for adaptation. Comfort makes men predictable. Pressure makes men sovereign. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose discomfort over decay. The man you were cannot carry the man you must become. That version was trained for approval, for safety, for belonging. He must die. Not dramatically. Quietly. This is not self-help. This is survival. The world does not pause for your identity crisis. Reinvention is not optional. The new identity is sparse. A few words. Few attachments. Few dependencies. Scarcity is not loneliness. It is sovereignty. You don't explain. You don't chase. You don't seek permission. You rule yourself. When this video ends, do one thing. Cut one unnecessary explanation from your life today. Delay one response. Cancel one obligation. Say no once. Delay is a weakness. Action seals transformation. If this resonated, like the video. That is commitment. Share it if you lead others. That is my responsibility. Subscribe if you're ready to continue. This channel is not for boys. It's for men who are done being managed. The weak inherit comfort. The powerful inherit themselves.